speak to writer and political commentator Benedict Spence and director of 50/50 Parliament, Francis Scott, both of whom who join me now. Great to see you both, and lots to discuss this week. And I guess, Francis, the first topic to hit probably wasn't what we were expecting to hit ahead of local elections, with all the issues out there that voters will be discussing. But it is this latest spate of various sleaze-related allegations. Lots of party leaders on Sky earlier today, and no one has clear, specific ways to deal with it. Who ultimately should be responsible for leading the culture change, leading the reforms that could hopefully mark a stark turn and change moving forward?
Well, obviously, it's fantastic to hear what Lindsay Hoyle has to say. It does have to be an institutional change and a cultural shift. But of course, we would argue that to get the sexism out of politics, you need to get more women into politics. And that's why I set up 50/50 Parliament. We're a friendly network of people helping women progress in politics. And we encourage women to sign up to stand via our website so that we can help them take the next step. We want everyone to encourage women into the political fray. If you know a woman who'd make a great elected representative, ask her to stand. And it does make a difference. This is a bit like a political Me Too moment. Having women at Westminster calling out the behaviour has made a massive difference. And the safety in numbers, it's very difficult if you're a small minority to do that. But now that we have more women there, they feel more comfortable doing it. When there are very few of you, you just have to conform to the norm. And at the minute, there are 425 men in the Commons and 225 women. I mean, the sexism is demonstrable in the statistics. Ever since women were able to be elected, there have only been 557 women MPs, and well over 5,000 MPs have been elected. So we really all need to work together to build a better democracy and ensure that it is properly representative and that women have their rightful place in the political sphere.
Broad representation, Benedict, of course, one area that definitely needs to be addressed. The other question is behaviour amongst the hierarchy, along the different parts of the hierarchy, once people are working there, regardless of their gender. Why is there still seemingly pushback from the idea of having junior employees employed centrally by Parliament with a broad HR function as opposed to directly by the MP they work for?
Well, once upon a time, there did used to be a central pool of employees that MPs could pick from, but that did used to be the case. I mean, not quite in the way that's being discussed now. I think it's an issue more of MPs wanting control over their own offices, over their own departments, and I don't think that's unfair either. I don't think people necessarily want to be foisted with people that they haven't thoroughly vetted and approved of first. But I do think it's I think we can get ever so slightly down the rabbit hole of saying what we need is better representation, and I think that's very nice in theory, but I don't think it always works, because actually I think it's more about the sort of characters that we are attracting into Westminster. It is far more, there are far more men, obviously, represented across the board. But I think that's just because of the way actually the party systems work and who it is who's more likely to be selected to be a candidate, who it is that's more likely to toe the line, what parts they play, the junior levels of different parties. So I don't think it's necessarily just a question of saying we need more women. I mean, over the weekend we've heard a story about a Labour female MP who accosted a Tory whilst drunk on the Commons terrace. There are these stories about potentially Angela Rayner being the one that leaked her very own story about her and the Prime Minister at question time. She may well have been the one who leaked it and then tried to claim sexism and cry foul. That's not actually the behaviour of a responsible politician. It does cut both ways. So whilst I do think, yes, better representation is always what you want in a parliamentary democracy, I think it's far more fundamental that we actually address the types of characters. And that, I think, is something that fundamentally requires the party structures themselves to change.
We haven't heard back from Angela Rayner on that particular topic, though, Benedict, which you should mention. And all that you're doing on that is just raising an open question rather than backing up an accusation with evidence. Francis, I saw you nodding throughout, though, a lot of what was Benedict was saying. So weigh in.
Well, we definitely need the brightest and the best people, as Oliver Dowden has said. But, half the brightest and the best people are women. They are 50% of graduates and 60% of law graduates. And we need to ensure that our parliamentary democracy is attracting the best people, including women. My daughter has just graduated in data science from Bristol University, and the organisations that she's working for make sure that they're recruiting the brightest and the best, which is why Lindsay Hoyle's investigation is so important. And it's why we need to be reaching out to the widest possible pool of talent and ensuring that women feel comfortable in standing and are encouraged to stand by all party structures. It's great to have leadership from the top, but actually the gatekeepers are the selection committees, and they need to be looking favourably on women. There was a slight reference there to Canterbury. They had an all-women shortlist. The Conservatives had the all-women shortlist because all the best people standing or putting themselves forward were women. And we have had all-men shortlists forever. We should be at least having 50-50 shortlists so that women get the opportunity to stand and that selection committees get the opportunity to see them. The Conservatives are big on opportunity. Give women the opportunity is what we're saying. Give women the opportunity to stand in winnable seats. And by the way, women make great MPs. Labour Party, obviously, lost the election, but it was only 15 of their women that lost and 44 men lost seats. So women actually can communicate well with the electorate and make great representatives. So let's give them the opportunity.
Benedict, let's talk a little bit about the local elections as well. A lot of people raising the question as to what this might mean for Boris Johnson's leadership of his own party. Well, what's your take on how critical this vote is on that question, but also for Keir Starmer's leadership of his own party? If he fails to deliver massive gains, does it suddenly alter the conversation about whose leadership is going the best?
Well, Keir Starmer's leadership will always be in the shadow of Boris Johnson's leadership, seeing as he seems to exist at the behest of whether or not Boris Johnson is having a good week or not. I sort of wonder whether or not Partygate, as much as it still greatly aggravates me and a number of other people, one does fear that perhaps it has slightly run its course and that it will be superseded by these sleaze allegations, which once again mainly sort of engulf the Conservative Party. But the thing is, what you're wondering is, will people be a little bit weary of all of this around what's going on in Westminster? Will they turn their attention to more sort of local issues? One would hope that it would be a referendum on the performance of the government throughout the last couple of years. But at the same time, the Labour Party have been sort of very complicit in just waving through a lot of things that the Tory Party have been doing. They haven't really been offering very credible opposition. So when one looks at, what the current situation is in the local elections, a lot of people are sort of anticipating Boris Johnson won't do very well. It's not as if there are an awful lot of great alternatives anyway, because actually, can you really vote for the Labour Party as a protest or as a viable alternative? A lot of people would say possibly not. I think it's a very curious one, because by all accounts, Boris Johnson should endure a really bumpy couple of days over the course of the local elections. It shouldn't be going particularly well for him. But can we confirm that? Can we guarantee that? No, he does keep on managing to sort of bounce back from all of this. Having plumbed the depths of unpopularity, he still remains very unpopular, but the Tory party are not doing as badly in the polls as many would have predicted would be the case. I actually think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to call than perhaps it was even a week ago.
And Francis, to round off the discussion more broadly on the topic we began with, when you speak to all of the candidates that you're trying to get into Parliament and some that you have worked to get into Parliament, do you get the feeling that things are steadily improving over time or not at all? Because clearly in the last week, it feels like not at all, and it's as bad as it's ever been. But has there been a bit of an improvement in the culture and representation, or are we just pathetically far behind where we should be?
Well, there are 45 countries that have better representation, or gender equality of representation than the UK. But no, the silver lining behind all this sleaze is that we're talking about it. And as I said, the fact that we have more women in the Commons means that they feel comfortable. This is a bit of a political Me Too moment, and that's great. And the women in our network are not deterred. In fact, this makes them more determined. And it's just a matter really now of the gatekeepers, the selection committees, to give women the opportunity and the chance, because they make great MPs and great local councillors, by the way. We've got lots of women standing in the local elections, and we can't wait to celebrate their success and even celebrate the fact that they participated. So I think things are looking better, and fortunately, although of course it's what's been going on is quite disgusting and appalling and unacceptable, it does mean that hopefully the future is bright.
Well, Francis and Benedict, thanks both for joining me this afternoon. This is Sky News, so still to come. Drinking